Every now and then, you come across a story that really makes you think. We were lucky enough to find such a story, and a very unique one at that. SIEGFRIED STREUFERT was a young anti-Nazi German boy during World War II. Here is his story.
I was 5 years old. It was 1939. I was born in 1934, so I was 5. And I had no idea what war was. And so I had to say to my parents, what's war? And the answer was, well, you know, you as a kid, when another kid wants to take things away from you, that's like what country does to another country. They want to take things away. So I was 5, and I could understand very well what would happen, because sometimes kids would try to take my toys. And I didn't like that. So obviously I wasn't going to like war either.
And he had a very good reason, because of one word: bombs.
Well, it was like this. We were bombed day and night. The British came and bombed us at nighttime. The Americans bombed us during the daytime. And the planes would come in formation, a large group of planes. You could see them in a group coming, and they would all drop bombs at the same time. And you could hear the bombs coming down. Boom. Then the next whistle would be shorter. Boom. The explosion would be louder. And you could sort of count. 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. And at 0 the bomb would blow up very close to you, and you were either alive or dead. Thank God I was alive most of the time, but there was a lot of damage to our house.
With bombs falling constantly, there was no safe place. One day, SIEGFRIED's father went to go check on their office after a bombing. However, when they got to the city, an air raid started again.
It was a Sunday, actually, and we took the morning train into the city, and we had just barely arrived in the city when the alarm went off, and oh my God, with another air attack. So we went to a bunker, which was 4 stories above ground, 4 stories below ground. I wanted to go all the way to the bottom. The bombs fell all over the place. The bunker was shaking, but it didn't get destroyed. We were alive. Anyway, as we got out of the bunker, everything was on fire around me. And to be able to get to my father's office, there was a old church, beautiful old church, just a few feet away from a department store, which was 4, 5, 6 stories high. And we had to go through that little area in between, and both of them were burning, and the flames were just meeting in the middle above us. And my parents wanted to go through there so he could get to his office. And when we went through there, or tried to go through there, I didn't want to go. I was scared. I didn't want to go under a fire. And my parents said, we've got to go through. So they held my hand, one on each side, and tried to go through. And of course, because the air was rushing in from both sides and pulling up, I was lightweight, so I was as a child. I was being pulled upwards towards the fire, but my parents held me down, and we got through finally. And it was very, 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 very scary. Interestingly enough, maybe because I slowed us down, was a good thing, because when my father came to his office, which was also on fire, the building, the ceiling collapsed just as he opened the door. If he would have gotten in, he may have gotten killed then. So my being scared probably saved his life, at least for a little while, until the Nazis took his life. We were threatened by the Nazis all the time. They came and searched our house repeatedly, trying to find some kind of material that would incriminate us as being anti-Nazi. So in fact, we had a lot of books we weren't allowed to have, but my parents would put different covers on the books. So Nazis did not know that. But they were afraid of him, no question about it. And for good reason, because he was working in the underground against them. As a matter of fact, he saved a number of people's lives, people who were being persecuted, some Allied flyers who had to parachute down from the planes when their planes were hit, and so on and so on. And he was really fighting against them in the underground, but they didn't know that. But when there was an attempt at Hitler's life in 1944, they decided he was too dangerous. And one morning, about 5 o'clock in the morning or thereabouts, they pounded on the door and they picked him up, and I never saw him again. My mother was allowed to go see him at the concentration camp, at the catch-on, the first concentration camp, to talk to him about how to arrange finances for the future. And, but she was told when she saw what was going on there, that if she ever would say one word about it to anybody, she'd be dead immediately. But I never saw my father again. And he was then taken to a major concentration camp where he was allowed to send us one letter a month, which was censored. Census mark was always on the bottom. The last one came in early December 1944. And then there wasn't one in January or February or March. And in April we got a box. And this box had my father's clothes in that he had been arrested in. And it said, enclosed are the clothes of August Streufert, who died of pneumonia in the concentration camp Hamburg-Neuengamme on the 27th of December 1944. Of course, since then we know, since I wrote the book for that matter, we know that a lot of people were killed in that morning of December 27. There was not a case of pneumonia. They just killed people they didn't want to be alive anymore. And my father was one of them.
And to find those people who the Nazi deemed unfavorable, they used many manipulation tactics to get people to spill the beans on their neighbors, friends, and even parents.
This was Mr. Johansen. This was a real Nazi teacher. And he would say that, look, you kids, I am telling you about Hitler and the Nazi Party. He didn't call it Nazi, he called it National Socialist Workers' Party. And how wonderful things we're doing for Germany, and that Germany will be the most successful nation in the world, and we will control everybody, and that's important. So you know about it because I, the teacher, tells you about it. Your parents don't necessarily know it. So would you tell me, please, if your parents say anything that disagrees with the Nazis? Because if they do, I'll come and go and teach them too. That, of course, is nonsense. Because if the kids talk about their parents, and their parents are anti-Nazi, that means that child would have lost its parents, because the parents would have been killed, would have been thrown in a concentration camp, and so on. So he was tricking us as kids. But I knew about it. I expected that. And so I didn't fall into the trap.
Tragic events like this are never forgotten and serve as a reminder to future generations to never repeat them. For Chiefess Kamakahelei Middle School, this has been Sydney Brady.